Друзья, давайте начинать.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends, let's start the work of our section dedicated to legal tech. My name is Maxim Proksh. I work in Skolkovo, and not only. It's the last block of this section, focusing on specific technological novelties or specific steps which reshaped our cognition, the cognition of those people who deal with intellectual property. In the neighboring rooms, they discuss artificial intelligence, and we have legal tech here. What is legal tech? It's something for lawyers with technology or a technology-oriented lawyer, or as some say, algorithmization of law, self-implementing agreements. Is it a bridge between a consumer and a copyright holder? That's the whole range which we are going to cover. Frankly speaking, I was quite surprised. I think now we need to shut the door. I understand legal tech in its pure form. For example, there is a program, an application, which makes contracts, agreements, or which helps you read texts, or which can be used to quickly index the required information. How to apply this in our IP area in respect of those items that are sometimes not systematized in terms of copyright. How can we apply this to patents, even though they are systemized? They were systemized in different systems. Anyway, let's try to cover these interesting subjects with the help of our respected speakers. We have about 1 hour at our disposal. May I ask you to be laconical? In a few words, what do you think is most useful that legal tech can do for intellectual property? First of all, I would like to give the floor to Artem Tovbin. Artem, can you tell us where legal tech in intellectual property start with? Yes, I am Artem Tovbin. I'm technical director of IP Chain. Going back to the topic of a change in cognition. Can you hear me? To describe legal tech, cognition, to me it means, in the past I used to discuss IT, and I am an IT person myself, but now I am in a hall in which the audience is mainly lawyers. Can you raise your hands? Who represents IT? Who of you represent IT, and who are lawyers among you? So maybe 50-50. That's exactly what legal tech means. That's how IT guys look at the legalization or protection. When we speak about copyright, Today, the platform that we are running, it's an infrastructure platform which can fix IP transaction, and from the very beginning until the time when you transfer rights and obtain licenses. Every creator, how does this platform help? First of all, we can formalize the priority right. Some know-how, some invention, trademarks, concepts. So first of all, it's about copyright. We can formalize copyright in a register and provide external platforms and even public institutions to see the information about a specific item, its title and other features. So what's the background of IP chain? First of all, at least in Russia, we saw there was no single database in which we can get the information about a specific IP item. So, and it leads to unfair copyright holders and copyright users. But then we can read about an IP item, and IP chain is a platform which enhances the level of trust to an IP item. And that's what our market is lacking at the moment, and it can help increase the IP turnover. And underneath we have an IP chain technology, some components, and the level of trust can be determined by the number of components and modules, and it includes Rospatent and other organizations. We can register not only the priority rights, but also with the help of various services. We can arrange for mediation, we can arrange for an increase in turnover, and so on. Another topics of today related to IP chain. So first of all, we are supposed to formalize an IP item, and then we should formalize a copyright holder. And also one of our services is to store data. That's in brief. Our platform provides the basis, a foundation. So when you build a city, at first you build the infrastructure, you build utilities and communications. And IP chain helps you build up additional services on top. And we also help formalize IP transactions. IP chain is an infrastructure platform. It accelerates the process with the help of smart contracts. That's in brief. I understand. For Russia, legal tech means at first building a digital infrastructure, and then on top of that creating various services, systems, and so on. Paul, what about Singapore? What does it mean for Singapore legal tech?
Briefly, legal tech is the intersection of technology and law, right? It's the application of technical or technology solutions to enable the delivery of legal services to be more efficient and hopefully more affordable. But the way that we approach legal tech development in Singapore is not to focus on the technology, although of course there is a range of technologies that will be applicable for IP. We look at it more as an innovation challenge, which is why FLIP, FLP, is the Future Law Innovation Program rather than the Future Law Technology Program. To us, technology is only a tool, an enabler. It needs to be fit for purpose. So for us, when we approach the issue of legal technology and how it can be applied across the different practice areas, whether it's intellectual property, family law, criminal law, commercial law, and whatever else, we always like to look at how applicable that technology is to the chosen business model of the company or the law firm. We believe that the innovation has to start with the practitioners, the lawyers, or the in-house counsel, determining how they want to deliver their legal services into the future economy, how they can better value add to their clients. And this really involves looking not just at your value proposition or how you intend to deliver your services, but also possibly your internal structures. So this would extend to the partnership model of a law firm, for example, whether or not that is still going to be relevant or whether that is the best model to remain competitive in the future for that law firm. The other thing that we would look at is knowledge and education. So I think this is an area that cannot be understated in its importance because no matter how cutting edge the technology is, if the end users, so it could be the lawyers or the in-house counsel or even the customers at the end of the day, do not understand the technology and they're force-fitting a technology into a business model or a solution and the technology is not fit for purpose, then it's going to fall apart quite simply. So the education process is absolutely important. We need to get lawyers to up their game because in this day and age there is an abundance of free online legal resources. So they need to be able to develop domain specialties, specializations, and we need to create the opportunities for lawyers to continue their education beyond the bar exam, essentially. The other pillar is regulations. So when we think about the application of technology to the future of law, there could be a lot of rules and regulations that may actually impede this innovation. And in Singapore, we have not developed a regulatory sandbox, but what we have is a regulatory drop box. And the difference is in a regulatory drop box, there is a formal mechanism for legal technologists, lawyers, even in-house counsel to raise for review any legal regulations or rules around the practice of law that could impede innovation and impede experimentation. So this is a formal process that's been put in place. In other words, the regulators are now telling the industry that if you have a good idea, I'm all ears, I'll listen to you, right? It's not going to the full extent of a sandbox, but we may consider certain carve-outs just to allow experimentation. So that's the regulatory aspect of it. And of course, the very last aspect beyond business model, regulations, and education is the technology itself. So again, in this area, we are looking at helping the industry understand things like artificial intelligence, distributed ledger technologies or blockchain, natural language processing, and so on, all of which will, of course, have applications in the area of IP law as well. I think the benefits of blockchain, its immutability, transparency, security, and traceability is quite clear, as well as artificial intelligence. So that's in a nutshell how we approach thinking about the application of legal technology in this space. So it's about innovation first and technology second.
Я знаю, что вы в Сингапуре действительно большое внимание.
I know that you in Singapore pay great attention to developing technologies, to developing and capitalization of non-material assets. How many legal tech startups do you have in your mandate? Can you answer this question?
Before the Future Law Innovation Program of FLIP was started in January of last year, 2018, we had around half a dozen, 6 established legal tech startups. And really, they weren't in very cutting-edge areas, right? They were in things like, online registry of lawyers, for example, providing basic legal advice, or they can't even call it legal advice, but basic legal information to the man on the street for them to look up. And then if they find that whatever the lawyer has written resonates, they can contact the lawyer. So it's like a LinkedIn for lawyers, sort of. 18 months down the road, today, we have about 55 legal technology companies that have gone through the Future Law Innovation Program or are going through the program right now. And also there are many others which haven't formalized themselves into companies, but they were quite successful teams through this rash of hackathons, legal tech hackathons that have been run since last year. I count at least half a dozen legal tech hackathons in just the past 18 months in Singapore. So we are quite optimistic that the present number of 55 will grow very rapidly, actually.
Впечатляет. А что у вас, Ватас? Расскажите, пожалуйста, ваш опыт.
What do you have? What's your understanding of legal tech? Some time ago, we visited your region and we know that you have a certain interest to legal tech. Could you please share your experience?
Yes. Thank you very much. My name is Mu'tasim. I'm working in the field of IP registration and protection for the last 22 years. And it only makes me feel so bored and so old when I see the advancement that happened in different kind of businesses and industries, while for our business, which is IP registration and IP protection, we are still at 0 point. In the Arab countries and Middle East, it's one of the, and I'm very happy that we have the perfect combination between IT and lawyers. They will understand the situation. In the Middle East, we have the most complicated requirement and procedures for registering and protecting trademark. Everything is happening manual. Whenever we see, for example, how advanced technology, for example, travel had done during the last 15 years, where if we remember 15 years ago, if you want to book a flight or a hotel, you have to go your travel agent check with the hotel confirm, send invoice, travel agent send invoice, you pay, he pay. It's a very long process. Now with hotels and booking.com and all these websites, they are much advanced. In the Middle East, for example, if Mikhail would like to send a copyright application for registration in a country like Bhutan or Kenya, where we use third parties, he will receive the instruction from the brand owner or patent owner. Then the same instructions goes to the, for example, South African agent, and then South African to the Kenyan agent, or India to Bhutan, for example. He go physically to the trademark office. He pay the official fees. He take the official fees. He report back the filing to the South African agent. Then send an invoice. South African agent will send to Mikhail in Russia. Send an invoice, and again, Mikhail will send to the brand owner and send an invoice. The payment will go through the same process. So having said this, and the kind of technology and advance and development we've seen in other businesses, I think there is no other option than having an IP blockchain, which my colleague started, having this kind of platform. But of course, it will need a lot of work on working with local legislative authorities to acknowledge the legality of this technology as a register for IP rights, and working with local legislative authority to acknowledge the legality of smart contract, that is integral part of this, and also working with the legislative authority to acknowledge the legality of cryptocurrency. So by having this system, which we don't have anywhere, we will have this major change. A brand owner or a copyright owner from his office can file and protect his copyright or patent or trademark from his desk and pay all the official fees through cryptocurrency. And from our own study as a company, and we operate in 60 countries, we see this happening within the coming 10 years, hopefully. We expect that there will be a global leader or champion for this change that will step up within 3 to 5 years. And to be honest, from what I saw from different IT companies in Russia and different IP professionals here, I think I would feel very comfortable to say that maybe this global champion or global player that will change our future may come from Russia.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Будем надеяться, что действительно, пока это поле еще
Yes, let's hope this field has still not been fully studied, and we'll find a niche, a decent place in this work, because in our opinion, it's been many positive activities in respect of legal tech. Also, we do this job in Skolkovo. Yes, we keep talking about this many times, but we have some real outcomes which we can share with our international partners. Now I would like to give the floor to Yekaterina, who is probably the only copyright holder who presents her technology solution. As I understand, it's a management system also, and a system designed to protect a significant amount of data which such an agency as TAS has. Could you tell us where you started and what did you start with? How long did it take and what did you achieve?
Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you very much. I'll use a PowerPoint presentation. Apologies for making my presentation in a different format, but it's difficult to talk about a product without a presentation. Today they're talking a lot about IP chain and transactions of all kinds, and this is very correct, and I think this is our future, but we need to answer one question. What will we upload to those systems and platform? What content will we exchange? Because the question of right owners, holders, is whether they have the rights. If it is a creator which created this piece of work and earns money using platforms, he knows that this is his right and he has the right to manage the rights. I need a clicker. Now I will demonstrate to you a blockchain. Legal tech and lawyers will confirm that not a single event, every event discussed is legal tech, and many large-scale companies have created something. And talking about legal tech, it's always about money, either about reducing costs or about earning extra income. If it is in IP sector, then it's about reputation, because large-scale companies cannot violate someone's rights. It's also a very important component we should bear in mind. It was so that TAS is 115 years old, and we have accumulated 30 million units of digital content, and it's impossible to manage it without creating a certain ecosystem, bearing in mind that we have photos, literature, works, software, unique software developed by our developers. How should all these items put together, how all these should manage? For that we need some system which we called ITAS, and we needed 2.5 years for that, and the result is really impressive. Honestly speaking, there wasn't a clear picture where we go. We didn't have consultants, we didn't have money to involve consultants, we did everything ourselves, using the resources, using the software which we had. And we faced a number of serious problems over these 2.5 years. And our most serious complication was that difficult task was to change the mentality. because honoring of IP copyright is a big challenge in Russia. A lot was said about piracy. It's a great change of mentality that copyright shouldn't be violated. Even not all understood that there are certain rights that should be honored, and what's happening on the internet with regard to piracy and other problems. These things are happening because the relation to the institute, the attitude to the IP Institute in Russia is only forming the due attitude. Other difficulties we faced were about being operative, being quick. We need material here and now. In 1 minute, it will be of no interest to anyone. And in principle, the content, and these are tens of millions of units of content, and it was all scattered, not systemized, and some of those were stored in a computer, in someone's computer. The person left, and no one knew where the content was. It was very difficult to develop new business process because the phrase, it was always like that. And another phrase is that we share everything which is on the internet. And this is what a stereotype that we needed to counteract. And we also needed to have a team, and members of the team had to be committed to what they were doing. And those were developers, IT professionals, and the drivers were lawyers, though it may sound strange, and also salespeople, because we know that legal tech and automation of any kind is about money. And on the market, we couldn't find ready-made IT solutions. That's why many of the products we developed ourselves. I know that I have very little time. I will try to be really concise. And as a result, we created one single functional system, an ecosystem, which unites not only products and technical solutions, business processes, people. We brought together receiving, storing of content and its publication and its release, doing it promptly, sales and accounting, forming of coordination, and everything is in one system, in one network, and depending on the type of content and the type of IP, these or those business processes are switched on for developers. And for buying content, we have one process. For developers, we have another one. And these things all together work as one system. And the biggest achievement was to bring together all those 30 million units of content and putting it in one storage of digital storage. And one of the great victories for us was an opportunity that every unit of content had a story of the chain of rights, where we got it from, how it developed, and this is what we are working over, the new types of storage, one single storage, and it's linked to all the systems, accounting system, and if we put our achievements in figures, this is very prompt, how we process content, and it's important. It's either it's a big difference whether we do it in 1 minute or 30 seconds, because speed means competitiveness. We earn money through speed. No. And the chain is very transparent and is very clear for those who are in the business. And we add the amount of content, 5 million new units of content every year. In 2017, when we were putting everything together, it was a great step forward because we started storing everything at one place. And the possibility of quick search for our inner units and for our clients has an impact on our impact. And the new system of storage is a good chance for creating new products, for monetization. A few words I would like to say about the big amount of work we did about clearing the rights to check the 30 million units of content for copyrights. To do that, we needed to invite hundreds of employees for that, and we hired about 3 people who, after the system which marked all those 30 million units of content, then manually those units which were not covered by the system, they consulted the archive papers that we still store in our company to check the copyrights. But most of the work was done by a machine. Otherwise, we would have needed 10 years for 10 people working for 10 years. I am not a mathematician, but the estimation is that I would like to say to praise our IT developers who have developed this solution. And as far as a reputation is concerned, we understood that as an information agency who distributes content abroad, we had to close some of the units of our content because it could be a threat to our reputation. We developed our own IT products because we couldn't find the ones we needed on the market. A service called TAS Assistant, thanks to which our journalists, our correspondents can upload the content which goes straight to the storage, describing the status quo about the rights. A big amount of work was done to develop a service to buy raw content. The storage is linked to the system of electronic coordination where a card can be filled in. And then the necessary units of content are singled out and then directed to the relevant services. And as soon as we are buying thousands of units of content non-stop, this is a great simplification of our work. And the next step we are implementing is getting away from paperwork at all. Our authors are all over the world, and for us, this is a very important task to be fulfilled. And this automation, and we will keep the chain of copyright. This will not increase the number of employees thanks to the technical solutions which were developed. The service which we launched last week, it was the service of electronic consent. And we do a lot via cleaning the copyrights, sending a link that the holder goes to, fills in his data, and then sends the link back to us, and Harris automatically sends it to the electronic storage, and it can be immediately used for releasing materials. And from this paper which he fills in is further used. A few words about combating piracy. Your colleagues will tell us about that, and then you will make your comments. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it should be devoted about 1 hour for such a presentation. I understand that quite a lot of work has been done. Colleagues, let's go back to our quick interviewing. Let's get back to the topic of countering piracy. I think we shouldn't introduce those people who have been quite successful in that struggle. Andrei, the floor is yours. As usual, please be laconical. I have a presentation for half an hour, but sorry, I have spent all of the time. Ladies first. So it should be interesting for both lawyers and IT people. Look, I'm not alone. an introduction or background. It will be interesting to both IT people and lawyers. How do we struggle against pirates? 2012. How did we get rid of violations? So we struggled against that traffic, Google traffic. So it was possible to achieve 95% of success. This is a structural scheme of piracy in online movies. So they cannot spend money that they earn. And now we have August 2013. There is a legal component. Oh, lawyers are happy now. So we filed a suit with the Moscow City Court. And what did we get as a result? Nothing changed. Why? Because it takes time and it's expensive. And the number of web pages which need to be blocked is high. Thousands of court cases. Episode number 2, constant blocking. Now we have a responsibility for repeating. What has changed? Yes, there were some changes, but changes for the worse. So now the number of pirate sites is 10,000 and more. But many of partners were offended and they stopped cooperation. Then B2B service was introduced. Now access is provided to the databases. You can quickly get connected to any domain, and it became easier to create mirrors. It was expensive and time-consuming to file legal cases. Episode 3, in October 2017, yes, many mirrors. Now we are ahead of many others. No, it's again expensive and time-consuming. We are blocking some resources. Piracy is not only on websites. We have monetization. So these are 3 key components. As my colleague has said, everything else we need to use on the basis of B2B. They continue to earn money, and there is an increase of about 21% per year. So legislators decided to put pressure on the anti-piracy memorandum. Now we have another tool how to counter piracy, but a pirate can easily create a new address for a website. He needs about half an hour or even less. And that's how a copy of the previous URL is created. We send the same links, but it's just about new addresses. In search engines, you can still see the piracy items. So, episode 5, what will be the future? So everyone wants to counter the, as they know, advertising. Anonymous websites can be blocked, and information mediators. Unfortunately, I must admit that it's only about semi-mergers, because internet traffic can go through bots or personal mirrors, which we will not be able to identify. What is the strategy? So we should use specific tactics and protect specific films. The last episode. So there was no improvement in the strategy. So you can achieve this result in 99% of cases. I like this slide, these weapons. It's called absolute weapon. But I would like to look at it from a different angle. You can improve the speed. So you can promote automation. I can tell you how it works, but many of you know. But if somebody wants to learn, please talk to me personally. As usual, we have little time. Now we need music here. Yeah, thank you. It was very interesting. After the session, I guess there will be some education from you, masterclass. So what's the solution? We are not supposed to adopt more anti-piracy laws, or maybe there will be about 20 more. At least legislators will have some work. Michael, so let's continue to discuss the anti-piracy topic.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Mikhail Basharov. I represent a legal firm, Basharov and Partners. I will carry on piracy. And I have a presentation ready, though I didn't plan to use it. It's our smart contract. At one of the sessions, in a greater detail, I was talking about the methods of work against cooperative piracy, and I will not focus on that anymore. And in 2 words, I will say about legal tech, technical means and mechanisms of controlling non-licensed use of software and how these are applied in practice. There are several ways of identifying cooperative piracy. As it was said by Andrei, you can identify dissemination, but it is not very effective. We block something, then new things emerge. We block sites, mirrors appear, we block mirrors, something else appears. The right holders, they're interested. In the first place, software right holders, they are interested in the use of their end use. The companies which should have licensed it haven't done it and use it as a non-licensed version. And there are known ways. Police raids when hardware is confiscated, and then non-licensed software is confiscated. And people, very often research is done based on pirate software. License auditing is also a tool. This is about licensed customers which have a certain amount of rights of usage and a certain number of licenses, but they use a lot more than they're licensed for. And monitoring of hacking software and the systems which are used by vendors working in a B2B segment. The system of monitoring is a module which is introduced in software of a vendor and identifies the fact of hacking, and then the fact of each use of that software. When this kind of use takes place, then the system collects a number of technical data, IP address of the local network, MAC addresses, also serial numbers of the machines where the hacked software is used, and then the users in the local networks, the version of software which is illegally used, and in which amount, data about every violation. When the software is launched, then the system monitors when the time when it was launched. data about the hackers group which hacked this software. There are several international hackers groups which hack cooperative systems, and they are all known, and they are sometimes arrested. They are caught through Interpol, but they're international ones, difficult to be caught. And the systems of monitoring allow to identify which specific hackers team hacked this or that software, and sometimes just for showing off, they leave their marks, and these are also traced. What can be done with these data? They are received by a vendor, and then specialists either of the vendor or the company which develops this protection module analyze the data. They are called data analysts, and they compare what they have, and they identify which company and where in the world illegal software is used. And then the vendor chooses the most priority way of acting, either police raids or court proceedings. Usually, as our practice shows, it's either the first way, which proves to be efficient, because counter agents which used hacked software prefer legalization to a scandal, or a police raid is organized and hardware is confiscated.
Передается в уже арбитражный процесс, и
Through arbitration, it is proved the fact of hacking the software, using the non-licensed software. Thanks for listening. So we've talked about enforcing. We've talked about stopping violations. Let's talk about creation. Where can we use legal tech at the moment of emerging, of a result of intellectual property emergence? I would like to ask Vadim first, and then Susanna, to tell about the international experience.
Good evening, colleagues. So maybe I will try to be most precise on specific items. Maybe we will speak not so much about creation, but also management, the management of rights. I can explain why. We have seen Yekaterina's presentation. She was telling us about the experience in creating the rights management. Our company took the decision, multifaceted solution. We understand well what problems the industry faces. Our topic today is legal tech and how to combat piracy and violation of rights. Maybe it's not only about privacy, but it's also, we are talking about business and entities that create the market. The problem is companies are not capable of taking records of their copyright because it is supposed to be done in an Excel spreadsheet. In order for companies to know at any stage how many rights they have in each intellectual property item, what licenses they can sell or resell, they need a methodology. How to develop such a methodology? you need to know how to manage those rights. Another aspect, the goal of business products is that when you conduct this stock taking, your bookkeepers need to be involved. But that's the job of managers. They need to know how much money some counterparties owe them. We get new IP items and they need to be fixed and recorded. And on the basis of that stock taking, we need to obtain the information on those items. We have developed this product for the last 6 years. We got our first result in the market about 4 years ago. Another problem of the market, apart from methodology, in fact, we have 3 problems. The second problem of the market is the methods of use. All of you know what a license is. It's a description of the uses of an IP item. For example, we have a method of communicating to public. Every company, historically, it's been like this, that every company has a reference method, and they say, we believe it should be like this, and someone else says, but we think it should be like this. So someone has public rights. Abroad, they have specific standards. For example, there is a TEFTA reference book. The California law uses other standards. And the objective of systems, for example, our system or competitive systems, is to teach companies to speak a common language, because if every company lives in its own world, there will be no transparency. But transparency is our objective. We would like our market to be transparent, to be in the position to obtain the information on finances when some funds were used and when a broadcasted was showing something and it became clear what the debt is. And the third problem, may I interrupt you? The information you are collecting on items, is it publicly available? Is it open? It depends. We create a product which automates. Katerina was telling us something, but probably at some stage they didn't see us being in the market. Some companies prefer to offer in-house solutions. What we do, we make cloud products and others, but a company will choose how they are going to live, how they are going to tune. In order to solve the problem of guidelines or reference books, we have uniform rights. So if you follow IFT rules and you buy from abroad, you can use our service so that you can convert those standards into our standards. You will get a transformation, and every time you are going to report to international copyright holders, you can use different standards. And the third problem, Artem made a nice presentation, a register of IP items, indicating proportions and other details. It's a wonderful thing, but Another aspect is that when a real business entity uses license agreements and patents, then it's not that easy. Because when a copyright holder comes, then you see that the relationships are so complicated in respect of music or whatever, then a creator needs to deduct some royalties. Unfortunately, smart contracts are not always the best thing to cover all those items. And for that purpose, you need to have a convenient interface. And then you can say that I will pay for this because he is a physician, and I'm not going to pay for that because it's something separate.
Площадки на лейбл, это я говорю только о музыкальной. Вот такой инструмент мы сделали.
The question is how to make many companies use such a tool and ensure that we have transparency, because the dullness of the market is not because there are no tools available. Very often many just don't want, they are reluctant. So I myself find it also strange when people try to include in a smart contract just everything. Because sometimes it's not scalable. There may be a wide range of agreements. I agree there may be some model agreements, but Svetlana, how is the situation in your case with contracts?
Smart contracts have a very narrow application so far, unfortunately, from the technological point of view. Many speak about them, but very few really understand them and use them. As far as legal technologies are concerned, and in the Far East, because I practice, my company works with lawyers in the Far East. We have it totally underdeveloped, the ecosystem. No culture of registration, no culture of applying to a lawyer when the problem emerges or before it emerges. I plan to open a company. I need to address a lawyer and find out how to address intellectual property. We don't have this. Why? We don't have it. Why the idea emerged to establish a company? This hasn't been mentioned yet. What's of key importance is the access to justice. In Russia, you have great opportunities to address a friend, call a friend. We all have a lawyer whom we know, whom we can consult. In the Far East, where our lawyers have their practice, they work with 90% of experts. These are people who don't know many legal aspects in the field, in the area where they live, and for them, lack of access to justice and transparency and the complexity of the matter is made more complicated by the lack of technologies which can be easily used. In case, and what helps that to happen, if there is a technology which says it's not complicated, it's online, you go there and search. And this is how our platform became popular, because we are a link between lawyers and clients. Any person with any legal matter, from personal problems to commercial problems, can address a lawyer and get a qualified answer based on the platform. And apart from that, the state authorities started addressing us for the public profiles of lawyers and their registration. For you to trust a lawyer on the other side of the of the screen, a regulator is needed to participate in the process. It starts from small things. They offered us to have licensing done through our pilots. In Bahrain, they say we have very many startups. We want to open hubs similar to Skolkovo. We want to develop startups. For that, an ecosystem should be developed for them to understand the legal field. They need to understand where to go, how to register a company, and such platforms as ours explain how it happens, and the state asks how via our platform an IP can be registered. We say that this can be done. For instance, in Bahrain, the ministry and the part of the ministry which registers IP, these are only 6 people registering 600 applications a month. And it involves checking, registration. Everything is done on Excel spreadsheets. A similar story, and if you're interested to learn about the Middle East situation, in Arab Emirates, among 600 legal companies, 40 don't have websites. They are not online. The market is not ready to cooperate with business. You know about Dubai, where business is booming, and there are companies which are front runners. And we are the only legal tech platform in the Middle East on the level we are. And the state works with us because we have databases of clients who trust us as the platform, and it makes it easier for the state to attract clients to them and to make the muddy water more clear. And you're planning to expand over to the European continent. We are not ready yet. When we are ready, we will come to your continent. Your ecosystem and the development of startups and the work of Skolkovo over legal tech and attraction of experience of LIP, which allowed in 18 months to attract a lot of startups, was done when they said to students, come and try to hack. You're lawyers, but you will be not in need in the future. And those young people were scared about their future, and they helped them by giving concrete ways of understanding technologies, of identifying where the legal business is developing. And that was a way of helping the young generation of lawyers. Thanks for your presentation. Do you have your website?
Ну, расскажите немножко, чем...
Maybe you could tell us what you are doing. These are also our partners. They are involved in another area which we have not discussed here today. Online regulation of disputes. It's a thing which each platform should have, because many disputes are related to smaller purchases, and they are performed according to the local rules on specific platforms. And I think that's the future, because no doubt it's a useful service. Please, the floor is yours.
There's a lot of pressure on me today because going as one of the last speakers, it's very challenging to keep a motivated audience even motivated, because there's a jazz music festival in 30 minutes. Everyone wants to go.
A little bit closer to microphone.
Yes. Thank you. Everybody wants to go, so I will keep my brief very short and sweet. legal tech, in my mind, is like the troika. We are in Russia today, the troika, three different horses pulling together. It is the law, technology, and the human interaction. These three pull together to make legal tech today. And we run what we call as the ODR, online dispute resolution platforms that powers courts and tribunals around the world. In a world that we live in today, it is a world without borders. A world without borders is frictionless, technology-driven, innovation-driven, and it is one of the best places to be in, because you may have a dispute originating from Moscow, but you can still sit in Kaliningrad and resolve it. That is the power of innovation and technology. Every business today has consumers worldwide, and to cater to them on a daily basis in terms of raising disputes, in terms of responding to disputes, is not going to be very easy. So we've come up with a platform that can be customized, that is bespoke, to suit the rules and regulations of each nation. So we are technically jurisdiction agnostic, and we believe that the future is going to be in digital justice. I mean, I heard Russia, there is digital economy, digital government, but I think going forward it's going to be digital justice where you can resolve disputes from your phones. Was that short and sweet, or is that okay? Have I kept the audience engaged? Yes? No? No? Okay. All right.
Maybe show of hands? Would you
A
like
show
to
of
see
hands,
first?
anyone?
Кто согласен с тем, что...
So she's my official translator because the translation.
Translation. Кто действительно согласен с тем, что будущее стоит за...
Who believes that the future is with the resolution of disputes online? Please raise your hands, where each of you can participate in a legal dispute and understand he is right, he is right. At least we have some hands.
И прежде чем
Before we proceed with do a quick interview, all speakers are thinking about the future of legal tech. We will give the floor to Andrei Grachev, who can very quickly and shortly tell us how we can earn with that.
Good evening. I'll try to be brief because a concert will start soon. And I will be talking about the financial side of digitalization of assets. My name is Andrei Grachev. I am the leader of a division of one of the largest biggest cryptocurrency stock exchanges in the world. And how can we earn money from that? It's about investments. It's about international monetary relationship. A lot was said about startups and stock exchanges of all sorts and digital rights. And what do we see? Digital rights, they can be for intellectual property and for material assets, for metal, gold, and other values, treasures, which we buy and exchange and sell. Startups can enter new markets which are focused, for instance, metal markets, and also investors who work with progressive technologies, with fintech markets, making digital copies of the existing or future assets. If we speak about the future, let's have a look at the existing situation on stock exchanges where they trade in digital assets, where there is no real business practically, where in fact they have some commitments about using digital copies. At our exchange, it's about 1 billion or 2 billion dollars a day. And these are not real projects. These are startups. And if this is combined with real activities, digital rights, stock exchanges, or metal stock exchanges, in my opinion, this will be a powerful increase in the liquidity of capital, their transparency, and in my opinion, digital rights, and in particular rights for existing assets, for future assets, it's a possibility to attract capital on the global market and to realize your business on the global market, having increased its liquidity and the liquidity of products which we produce. That's it. That was very concise. I couldn't expect us being so fast, 10 speakers in 1 hour and 10 minutes. The last effort, very briefly, future legal tech, the future of legal tech. What do you think?
Elaboration of those tools to regulate, public regulation or technology development. It will be underneath, it will continue to develop. I see the results of legal tech in the future, that everyone living on the planet, even the raw material economy is dying, and the human capital, we are moving towards an economy in which we use our brain to generate something of use. With the help of your mobile phone, walking on the street, you can quickly register something and share your rights and conclude a transaction. That's what will be our outcome. So quickly and simply. Paul, what do you think? What's the future is about?
Technology is evolving so rapidly, but to me, the future of legal tech is in our human capital and our talent. So I would say it starts really with the future of law, and that will be our students of today, the people in the law schools, and how they are being taught to deliver legal services going forwards and how they can work with technology. So there are many new job roles that are coming on stream: legal designers, legal engineers, legal project managers, and all of that will have to support the entire ecosystem going forward. So it's not about the technology. I still say it's about the human capital.
Человеческий капитал, мы все понимаем его ценность сейчас, конечно.
Yes, we do understand the value of that. Yes, yes, indeed. Vadim. Artyom has nicely put it. I would like to continue what Artyom has said. Since I speak about stock taking, in the near future, I think we will get new financial and investment markets which will be built around the same model of crowdfunding. And now it's about the production of some products. We forget that rights is a product you can sell, and in the future you can promote your money to promote your album. You can sell your rights. They have already started doing it, but still the mechanisms are not so well developed. In the future, you will be able to generate revenues from intellectual property items, and it's going to be a very good investment, not only for the private sector, but also for other winners. In order to invest. The same what is happening now with shares. For me, legal tech means cooperation and access to legal justice. We were raising hands who represents IT sector, who represents law. In terms of your products and a sound analysis of legal activities, each of you can look at your practice and say, I can automate these aspects. How should I work with the IT sector to facilitate my life? That's legal tech. So when every day we do things in a different way, in a new way, and we should keep it in mind that all we do is eventually for our end customers. It shouldn't just go in the air. You understand it, but some companies need explanations.
Yes, close up. Okay. The future of legal tech is twofold. From the point of piracy and the intellectual property industry, it is that situation where using new technologies such as blockchain, the IP industry for the first time in 250 years is a step ahead than its best competitor, piracy. And from a citizen's point of view, it is where the access to justice is permeable, it's all pervasive, and it is able to reach every citizen in the world today.
Спасибо. Андрей?
To me, legal tech and its future is primarily its cross-border nature, the adoption of values, not some tangible assets or rights. The speed of transfer and interaction, borderless interaction between participants. Yekaterina, it's an interesting session. For the first time, I speak about legal tech not with lawyers, because they look at it from a different angle. They love the topic of human capital reduction. Now I can hear about it from a different perspective. But for lawyers, legal tech means facilitation of business processes, making it more transparent. Due to legal tech, every lawyer in a company can build in business. I can see it from my lawyers, my colleagues. Due to automation, they become unique professionals. They can speak the same language with other professions, and they create new products. It's not a revolution for us. It's not when you read texts trying to compare every letter. A lawyer which cannot use Python as a language is not a lawyer. Today, during the Forbes breakfast, they said we don't have enough digital lawyers, so we need to simplify the lawyer's work. Mikhail, I agree, legal tech is multifaceted, but in the near future, I think there are three main directions. Automation of a lawyer's work. Secondly, the traditional work. Simplification and making it more reliable when you enter into agreements and cut costs. And thirdly, it's about the protective feature. Saving money and earning money. So what I was telling, in Russia you have 85 million, and before coming here I asked my American partners to provide the information on international piracy, and they said $46 billion in the last year, out of which 90 million is Europe and America. It's about software. 19 billion is for America and Europe.
For IP would be reducing time, money, cost, intermediates for IP owners, simply digital, decentralized, distributed, register of IP rights managed and controlled by the IP rights themselves.
Спасибо. Ну что,
Thank you. So we are finishing. So thank you for your patience and applause. And the concert is coming. Please, all of you are welcome.
Концерт.